Hey there, Valerie Pugsley here, and I'm here today with Terri Olson from HR Prescriptions. Hi, Terri.
Hi.
Today we're going to be talking about how to have better employee retention because happy employees, they don't leave, and that's good for business in so many ways. And we're going to be talking about that, but really quick before we do that, Terri, why don't you introduce yourself?
Okay. So I have a human resources consulting practice in Orange County, California. And for those of you that are listening that know California, the challenges for employers, especially when you are in that HR role, are pretty intense. So we're just trying to always help employers, and our specialty usually is small and mid-sized employers, and just help them navigate through whether it's the rules and regulations or trying to figure out how to incorporate 3 different leave of absences for one employee and all of those things. Whatever the people management needs are, that's what we specialize in. So every day is different. Every day is a circus, but there we are. It's fun.
That's good. And today we're actually going to be helping them kind of more on a foundational level, right? Because a lot of these rules and regulations come in because, you know, people aren't happy, they don't feel valued, whatever, along those lines. So retention is really, employee retention is really important for business owners. And I recall hearing that how a lot of times we focus on the customer. The customer is most important, but I heard a business coach say, no, actually your employee is the most important customer for you, that you want to treat your employees best because they're the ones that are out there having that face time with the customers. What would you say about that? Do you agree with that, Terri? How does that land?
I do, because if you don't have good employees, then you're not going to get customers, or you're not going to retain the customers that you have. So your employees are really important, as that they're like the first face that that the customer sees, whether it's on the phone or you know, in person in a store or something like that. So you want to make sure that you've got the right people on the right seats in the bus, and making sure that they are trained and treated with respect, and just have, there's so many different things that you can do to make sure that your employees are representing your company well. Because if they don't, then that could have a huge impact on your business and how efficient you are, or whether you're even successful, or whether you can grow. So I think that your employees are of the foundation, not the only, of course, but I see it as employees as a partnership. We need each other, and I think that that's important for business owners to understand, that without employees you don't have a business, and employees without businesses, you don't have a job and any income. So we have to partner together on that.
Right. And it can be challenging for business owners to be able to do all of this stuff because, you know, business owners, you have so many hats that you're wearing and so many fires that you're putting out, and you're concerned about cash flow and getting more customers and you know, there's so many things on your plate. So that can be challenging. We were talking earlier, you were saying a lot of the things that employers might think that employees want. Let's address, say, some of those things. We were saying that wages and those things, but what are the things that we, as employers, we tend to focus on, and we think that that's what the employees really want?
Employees want. Yeah, a lot of times, in fact, I remember pretty early in my career that we would see these evaluations, or for lack of a better term, and employees would rate of 10 things that people need in a job or want in a job, rank those things, and it would be wages, close to home, people that I like, challenging work, recognition, you know, employee benefits and things like that. And so the supervisors and management team, they would rank those, and then they would have the employees rank them. And the managers were ranking them opposite of what the employees were ranking. So the managers would say, oh, compensation's most important, then benefits, then, you know, where employees were saying recognition's most important, feeling valued, feeling part of the team, you know, and I think pay was number 5 or something. Wow. So, you know, a lot of times we don't realize what people really want. I think most of us have been an employee at some point where we weren't in a management role, we were in, or maybe the beginning of our career, and we never want to forget what it was like to be there, so that we can remember what people need and what they want. And that's the reason for this discussion today is what can we do to improve that employee retention and make sure employees stay with us, not go to our competitors or just anywhere else. It takes too long to recruit somebody. You want to lose them.
Well, stay with you and be happy employees as well, right? Because happy employees are going to be less likely to cause problems and make the employer's life more difficult. You mentioned value, and we're going to talk about that more in a minute, but as you were saying it, it just reminded me, actually, I think we were at the same event where they talked about this. There was a millennial there, and I think Gen Xers fall in this place too. They are less concerned about all the money and stuff. They want whatever they're doing to have meaning and purpose. So that kind of speaks to that whole value thing. And I think sometimes, depending where you are in the generations, you think whatever generation you are, you think you know it all. And yet I think, we each have our strengths and we need to learn how to merge that together. So it can be challenging for the business owners because they do have so many things on their plate, but it may be less expensive for you. It may improve your cash flow if you learn how to just stop. Invest some time and value the employees. So how do we fix this, Terri? How do you make these employees feel, address the thing that's most important to them?
Yeah. I think it really starts with recruiting. My big thing is every company, every business, no matter how big or small, needs to have a mission statement and why do you exist? And that's probably another video for another day as far as how deep I would get into that. But there's got to be a purpose. And then what you're doing is you're looking for people who believe in what you do so that they feel a part of it, regardless of what their position is. And I think, Valerie, you and I have talked before about someone who they might say, well, I'm just a receptionist. And it's like, yeah, but nobody would be able to talk to anybody if you weren't here. We wouldn't have anybody be able to come into the building if they didn't have you greeting them and telling them, calling the person where they need to go. So every position is so critical. But it starts with recruiting and making sure that you get the right person and then onboarding them in a manner where they feel that they're not just left out like, here's the den of wolves, enjoy. People are thrown into jobs and they're not properly trained or they're not given the tools, or maybe there are tools, but they just don't even know about them. And they don't have a buddy to walk them through the first week or two or month. A lot of times people will take a new job and they'll be excited about it, but 30 days into it, they'll think, oh my gosh, what have I done? Because it's so new. And if they're not getting the training and the support that they need, they could leave very shortly because they feel just overwhelmed. So the recruiting is important and the onboarding is important. And then just helping that person know there's so many things that you can do from the beginning to help that person know that you care about them. And I don't mean like warm, fuzzy, that kind of stuff, but just letting them know that they are valued. And it starts even with one of the things I love to do are self-evaluations, where my self-evaluation asks some really important questions about that employee so that I can know where do they want to go, where do they want to be in 5 years and stuff. And maybe I can help them get there even if they're not going to stay with me that long. I mean, employers in California, we are lucky if we get someone to stay 3 to 5 years. So if you know that you're only going to have someone in a position for a short period of time, how can you help that person grow? They might stay because of the value of the growth, or they might move on, but gee, you've had a great employee during that time. So, and then just maybe even having focus groups where you just pick a few people from different departments and asking them, what do you like about working here? What would you change if it was your business? And just asking them different questions to find out. And that focus group, you want some really good employees and you want some of the whiners, or the complainers, so that you get a mixture of people and just get a good feel of that. You can do employee opinion surveys. I do those for my clients all the time where I get the results and the employees know that I get them and that the company doesn't have access to them. And then I just give them a report and recommendations. And then that way the employees feel free to say whatever they want. And I don't know who they're coming from either, because it's all those, codes and all that, and I don't care. I just want the content, So anyway, those are some of the things.
Okay.
Yeah.
So to recap, different things to do to make them, well, to feel valued. Well, first you want to hire the right people, right? And make sure they're in alignment with your mission and your values. And if you don't have those, though, that might be another video that we're going to do, or that's something they can work on. Because if you're not all working on the same purpose, then what's the point? And making sure once you hire them, you have a system in place for the first month or two. There's a mentor, somebody coming alongside there and just not left to the wolves and they have to figure it all out themselves. That they've got the sufficient safety nets, they're helping them learn, the support, learning their roles, but then getting their input into things via the focus group, and especially the ones where it can be anonymous so that they can feel free to express what's going on. And then I think as business owners, being open to the idea of, okay, maybe I need to change in some places and work on things, right?
One of the other things that I have done in the past is I was with a business that was going through huge changes. There were some layoffs and the company was being sold and people were just bailing because they didn't know what was going to happen, what their future was going to be. So I asked the president to meet with the employees. We just did separate, 4 groups or something like that. And the employees were allowed to ask him anything. And of course, we told them, look, there are some things that would be confidential at this point because the company was for sale and stuff. So maybe he can't answer everything, but you can ask it. And then as soon as that answer can be given to you, it will be. But it really reduced, I think, I don't know if we even had anybody resign after that because they felt comfortable that they had answers, that they knew the company wasn't going to fold. It was just being sold. There's a big difference. And their jobs were going to be maintained. And sometimes you just need to have the guy at the top, the woman at the top, answer some questions so people can feel that, all right, they're just not in their high echelon in what's that called, the white office,
Their white tower.
White tower, that's what it was. Yeah, because unfortunately that was referred to at this particular place. But they're not in their white tower making these decisions about our lives. We know what's going on, and so I think that transparency was very, very helpful. And anytime you can have meetings with employees and explain, hey, this is coming up. It could be we're getting a big, huge client, and so we're going to be working a lot harder, and there's going to be overtime and all that. It could be like a good news thing, or it could be, wow, we just lost a big client, and so we're going to have to hunker down and whatever. But just explaining to people what's going on, people will appreciate that, and they will feel valued because you've trusted them with information. Of course, they're not to share that with other people. That's a whole other topic. So, so anyway, I think that's really important, is to make sure that you are, that you are as transparent as you can be with employees when it comes to that. We ask for the open door, but it has to be both ways too. When that information can be shared. So,
and that transparency too is just a way of communicating and feeling valued, right? If somebody's like not talking to you and keeping secrets and everything's hush hush and you don't know what's going on, as our human nature is that we're going to create a story. Well, the story we create may not be the accurate story, and in the case you were just illustrating the story that everybody was creating, oh, the company's dying, I better go get another job. And they found out that wasn't the case.
Right. And you're right, Valerie. That's exactly what people did, is they were creating scenarios that weren't even possible. I mean, they weren't even going to happen. It's like, oh my gosh, we're not going to get paid. I heard that our payroll isn't going to go through. And who made that up? So they were making up things because they had no answers. You're right.
Yeah, they had no information. So keeping, like you said, keeping that open door communication as much as possible. Obviously, you can't share everything, but again, you feel valued as a human being. Oh, they're willing to share this with me. And even from a coaching perspective, I'll talk with people a lot of times about taking ownership. It's like, okay, this is what's going on, and this is what I'm going to do. Like for me, it's like, what am I going to do in the future? But in the scenario that you're talking about, okay, well, here's what's happening, and this is what we're attempting to do, or this is how maybe like you said, it's a situation where something not good happened, so here's the situation, and here's what we're going to try and do. Or there is going to be a lot of work right now. We envision it only being this long. If it's going to be longer, then we're going to do this kind of thing, right? And just kind of being transparent with, yes, we see these things, we're working on these things. What about giving employees, and we talked a little bit about it, just the thing that comes to mind for me is being able to give the employees input, like that like they can give suggestions. You know, the office has a funny one about the suggestion box, which is kind of a funny one for the office watchers, but how does that play out? Is that something that employees value, provided that the suggestions are actually listened to or addressed?
And that the suggestions are valid suggestions, because I've seen that suggestion box be where people will submit a complaint about something very important, like harassment or something, but they have no name of who's doing it, no name of who it happened to, and it's like, okay, we don't need those kind of suggestions. But I think that when you have open communication, whether it's through the HR department, someone needs to be trusted enough that people will go to that person. It could be a suggestion box, or it could just be maybe, like, for example, with some of my clients, I'm an 800 number, and if they have a concern, they can just call me directly. And that way I will help them deal with their situation. And if I need to let the client know, then I'll let them know. But if not, if it's something I can just help them with, then that'll be a clean fix, and they don't have to get anybody else involved. So I think that when you have an open door policy and you tell employees, especially if you have consistent meetings like monthly or something like that, maybe even quarterly, where you just say, please bring your ideas to the table, or you have an idea suggestion program or something, which we put together before, that employees feel free to say something. And then, of course, if somebody does submit an idea, you don't say, yeah, that'll never work, because that would be the last time you'll get something from them. But if you just say, that's an interesting idea. I remember we tried something similar to that. Let me think about it. And then, get back to them and say, I think this is too much. But you give them feedback either way, but you don't ever put them down for it. But it's making sure that people can come to you. And that's where management needs to be very approachable. And if they're not, they need to learn that, because a lot of people are promoted from super clerk to supervisor with absolutely no training. Mm-hmm. And those are two totally different sets of skills that are needed in those two roles. So if you've got people in a supervisory role, even in a lead role, if they are directing the work of other people, they need to know how to do that effectively. And some people, if they haven't been trained, all they've done is just manage their people the way their boss did, which may not have been good. They could have like a bully for a boss in their past life. So we don't want them to take those skills and use them in the future in their own role.
That sounds like a whole other video we can do on how to value your managers by giving them the management training, because that's a whole nother skill level. We've had a lot of conversations about that. Just to summarize then, that we want to have happy employees so that you have better retention, and you can get that first through hiring right, second, supplying proper onboarding and mentoring along the way in those first few months, but then third, value those employees. And there's several different ways that you can do that, and we talked about that, especially giving them a say in things. Being open to suggestions. I really liked your idea of the supervisor, even if they think it doesn't work, well, let me think about that, and then maybe rethink it this time openly, or talk to some other people. Maybe it didn't work so many years ago, but maybe it would work now, or maybe we need more information, but somehow valuing and acknowledging. And then we also talked too about having that open communication and being as transparent as you can. And a word that in the employee realm that they would probably be throwing around is authentic, right? They want you being authentic, right? Transparent, authentic, both of those things. So those are all ways that you, the small business owner, even with all your hats, taking a little extra time to do that for your employees is going to be helpful. If you need somebody to help you with that, that's what Terri does. So we'll have links in the descriptions. And Terri, do you want to just real quickly do your number?
The phone number is 714-441-2422, or you can email me at Terri, Terri, at hrprescriptions.net. and we'd be happy to talk with you about whatever your challenge is.
Right. So call Terri if you have any of those. If you have any comments on this, what we've talked about, put that down below. If you have if you have some topics that you would like for future videos, put that in the comments below as well, or you can email them to Terri. And that's what we're all about here on this channel, is helping you, the employer, especially those employers in California where we are, and it can be so difficult and challenging to do business, but to help you do business well, because you are what makes our lifestyle what it is in this country. So we want to support that and protect that. So thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you found this beneficial.
Thanks, guys.
Bye for now.
Bye.